In 1879, a single photograph was taken inside the north transept of Whitby Abbey. It was commissioned by the Yorkshire Antiquarian Society as part of a structural survey, one of 14 plates documenting the Abbey's accelerating decay. 13 of those plates show nothing unusual. But plate number 7, the image you are looking at right now, contains what later investigators would call the kneeling shadow. A dark, clearly defined silhouette, low to the ground, positioned between the second and third column on the eastern arcade. It appears to be a human figure, kneeling. No one was recorded as present in the frame at the time of exposure. Let us begin with what is visible. The photograph shows the interior of the north transept as seen from the southwest corner. Pale stone columns rise in a broken colonnade. Beyond them, open sky. The roof had collapsed decades earlier. Rubble lines the base of the walls. Grass pushes through fractured flagstone. The light enters from the upper left, casting long, predictable shadows from each column toward the lower right of the frame. Every shadow in this image follows that angle. Every shadow except one. Between the second and third column, near the floor, there is a dark shape. It does not extend from any column, does not follow the direction of the light. It sits perpendicular to every other shadow in the photograph. Its outline suggests a figure bent forward at the waist, arms drawn inward, head bowed, the posture of someone kneeling in prayer or in grief. The photographer was a man named Edwin Hay, a surveyor contracted by the Society for Architectural Documentation. His field notes for that day survive in the York City Archive. Reference YS/1879/14. Hay was meticulous. For each plate, he recorded the time of exposure, the weather, and the names of anyone present. For plate 7, his entry reads, and I will quote it precisely, "Exposure commenced at 14 minutes past 2 in the afternoon. Sky overcast with intermittent sun. No persons within the transept. Assistants Greaves and Lund positioned outside the south wall. Duration of exposure, 9 seconds. 9 seconds. If a living person had been kneeling in that spot, they would have needed to remain perfectly still for the full 9 seconds to produce a silhouette this sharp." And Hay states, clearly, that no one was inside. Look at the image again. The kneeling shadow sits on bare stone in a section of the transept where no object stands. No fallen masonry. No remnant of furniture. The flagstones around it are flat and unbroken. There is nothing in that space that could cast this shape. In 1903, 24 years after the photograph was taken, a Reverend Arthur Crowther submitted a written affidavit to the Society for Psychical Research. Crowther had served as parish vicar in Whitby from 1871 to 1884. In his statement, catalogued under SPR Case File 1903-27, he described repeated reports from local fishermen and Abbey visitors of a kneeling figure seen at dusk inside the north transept. He wrote, "The figure is always described in the same manner, dark, low to the ground, in the attitude of supplication. It doesn't move. It doesn't respond to calls. Those who approach say it vanishes not suddenly, but as a shadow shortens when the sun climbs." Crowther collected 11 independent accounts between 1874 and 1882. He never saw the Hay photograph. He died in 1901, 2 years before his affidavit was filed. It was submitted posthumously by his widow. And yet his description matches, precisely, what plate 7 shows. Return your eye to the image. Notice the density of the kneeling shadow compared to the architectural shadows around it. The column shadows are gray, translucent. You can see stone texture through them. The kneeling shadow is darker, almost solid. It has a uniformity that the natural shadows do not share. In 1987, a photographic analyst named Dr. Helen Farrow at the University of Leeds examined a high-resolution scan of the original glass plate, negative. Her findings were published in the Journal of Photographic Science, Volume 35. Farrow confirmed that the shadow was present on the original negative, not a later addition, not a printing artifact. She measured its optical density at 1.8, compared to an average of 0.9 for the column shadows, twice as dark. She wrote, "The anomaly exhibits a density consistent with the occlusion of a three-dimensional object, not the diffusion pattern of a cast shadow. In simple terms, the plate behaves as though something solid was kneeling there." Something solid. But Hay's notes say the transept was empty. Crowther's witnesses say the figure vanishes like a retreating shadow. And Farrow's instrument says it blocked light like a physical body. There is one more detail. In 1994, during a conservation survey of the Abbey floor, English heritage archaeologists lifted several flagstones in the north transept to assess subsurface drainage. Beneath the flagstone located between the second and third column of the eastern arcade, the exact position of the kneeling shadow, they found a shallow depression in the earth. It was roughly 2 feet long and 18 inches wide. The soil within it contained elevated levels of calcium phosphate. That is a chemical signature consistent with decomposed human bone. No formal burial was recorded at that location in any surviving Abbey document. The depression was too shallow and too irregular to be a deliberate grave. The archaeologists noted it, catalogued it, and replaced the flagstone. Look at the photograph one last time. The pale columns, the open sky where a roof once was, the long, gray, obedient shadows falling to the right. And there, between the second and third column, low against the ancient floor, the kneeling shadow, darker than it should be, shaped like a person in prayer, positioned directly above unnamed remains that were never meant to be found. Edwin Hay exposed that plate for 9 seconds on an overcast afternoon in 1879. In those 9 seconds, something was recorded that his eyes did not see, that his notes did not account for, and that his camera should not have been able to capture. The question is not whether the kneeling shadow is there. It is demonstrably, measurably there. The question is, who is it kneeling for? And why, after more than a century, has it not yet risen? If you have a theory, leave it below. The archive remains open.